Today I'm talking to the very, very glamorous Charlotte Clark. Charlotte, you have been doing all the media rounds, so you may have seen her. She's been on GB News, she's been Heart Radio. Amanda Holden you talked to, didn't you?
Oh, she was lovely.
Yeah?
She was really lovely, yeah. And into this, actually.
Really?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, and then there was this morning, last week, you might have caught her on this morning, and you were with Alison Hammond, weren't you?
Yeah, and O'Leary.
O'Leary.
I liked him. Didn't like him before, but when I saw him, I thought,
Yes, very tight trousers.
very tight, yeah.
Was he wearing tight?
There was a few things that were tight on him, actually, but he was very nice.
Anyway, I digress. Because Charlotte has a few talents here. They were describing you as a witch, but you're also a psychic. So I think one of the questions I want to ask you, what is the difference between a witch and a psychic?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before. The difference really is, with the psychic, I tap into the energy of the spirit world, so I'm a psychic medium.
Right.
So I claim to be able to tap into that energy and look into somebody's future.
Right.
And also be able to tap into that energy and bring somebody's loved one forward. Now, with the energy around a witch, it's more, you know, like a hedge witch. It's tapping into that energy of like flowers, potions, the energy of the candle, making wishes. We don't do curses anymore, but there is a difference. But I kind of marry the two or three up. The craft, mediumship and psychic realms.
Well, I know on the shows they all want to talk about you being a witch, and I think a witch has connotations, doesn't it? It gets bad press when really it used to be just wise women, didn't it, of the village?
Absolutely.
That was what it was.
Yeah.
So do you find that you're just sort of brought out onto these shows, I don't know, almost like a performing, you know, to be made fun of? Do you ever feel?
I do feel like that.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely do feel like that, because even like some of the shows that I've been on, I feel like, are they taking the mickey? And I am real, and I believe in what I do, and I really, over the years, have helped and guided so many people.
And we never get to hear that, because
No, you don't.
No, in the interviews I've noticed it's very light-hearted and nobody goes into anything.
No, that's it.
And so therefore you become like a caricature,
Yeah.
as opposed to a real person.
It's like they always want me dressed up. You know, I've come away from the pointy hat, and I usually have a flower garland, but I think like, yeah, I like to dress up with my other friends when we do some kind of ritual, but most of the time I'm in heels and a nice dress, you know, and this is me. But I've always been able to tap into that energy, and it comes back from when I was very, very young. It comes from a great-grandma, and she used to read the tea leaves. And she didn't used to be called a witch. She was, like you just said, a wise woman.
Right, right. So then, is it something that runs in the family?
Absolutely,
And
it does.
then can I ask, when was your first psychic experience?
Right. When I was, whether it was psychic or more the medium realms, when I was a little girl, I used to be terrified of the dark.
Right.
To the extent of I hated to get out of bed in the dark. My parents used to leave the landing light on, but even then I was frightened of getting out of bed to go to the toilet.
Right.
So more times than not I would wet the bed rather than go, because I always felt like there was something in the bed, under the bed, that would grab my leg, or there was somebody standing in the corner.
Could you see them, or was
Yes.
that more like a feeling? Or?
It's been up and down over the years, from feelings to actually seeing.
Right.
It all depends what's going on in my life. It seems to calm down a little bit when I'm in a good place and focusing on other things that are going on.
Right.
And then when I've got things going on, turmoil, it usually gets stronger. It's almost like the energy is coming in to be around me, protect me, or work with me. I remember once being in a bad relationship many moons ago, and it was quite violent, and I remember thinking like I was going to be home soon. Please protect me, please protect me, please protect me. And no word of a lie, I heard him put the key in the door, and all of a sudden the lights all went out, and I thought, well, that was a bit weird. And he came in, and I could hear this slithering around the floor, and he could hear it too. I'm not going to mention any names, but he left quite quickly, and I thought, oh, this is another... at the time I was also terrified too, but I thought...
you weren't used to at this point?
No, I was about 19, 20, something like that.
Ah, right. So you weren't in...
No, I wasn't aware of that energy.
Right.
It wasn't until I was dragged along to a spiritualist church. I was around about 24, 25, something like that. Mm-hmm. An aunt took me along to the St. George's Spiritualist Church that used to be here on the island. And I sat there at the back, and my aunt Ina, she used to be there with all her friends. And the medium came, stood up the front and would say, I'm coming to the lady at the back. On this occasion, he said, I'm coming to the young lady at the back. At some point, you are going to be up here doing this. And I thought, oh, another blinking lunatic, why am I here? But about approximately 7 years later, I was actually running that spiritualist church, and I renamed it the Lady of Light.
That was quick, wasn't it? That was a very quick journey.
Yeah. Because all of a sudden I was in control of what's going on around me.
Right. So do you have a spirit guide then that helps you?
Yeah, his name's David. He was quite young. He was 18 when he passed to spirit.
And when did you first meet David?
I would say I was approximately in my 30s, because up until then, another psychic medium told me that I had a nun as a spirit guide. It's quite a cop-out if someone tells you got a nun as a spirit guide.
I was told I had a nun.
Well, you might have.
Disappointed, very disappointed.
But he's definitely not a nun.
Right. And how did he first present himself
well,
to
he
you?
I often used to get headaches.
Right.
And I had a reading with a very, very good friend of mine, and he told me that what he was all about, and his name was David, and he actually on his motorbike hit randomly for some reason a lamppost, and it was his head that was affected, and he described who would see, and so I thought, okay, that's confirmation, my guide is David.
And does he bring forth, when somebody comes to you for a reading to perhaps see their relatives in spirit, does he bring them forward? Is that his job?
More times than not, he's more of a gatekeeper.
Right.
But yes, he used to be the first person that I would link him with when I'm doing a reading. But now I'm kind of a whole lot more in control of the energy that I work with. Right. So I feel that I'm more stronger, and I can okay, I kind of like no, this is, they're not coming through, this person can come through. So at times he does feel a bit redundant.
Right, you took charge. Charge took charge, and there's no reason to have David. That's rude.
He's probably got the hump with that one, but right. I know when he's about, because my head does ache quite a bit. Yeah. So when you're going in, if I come to you and I want you to, I don't know, talk to my grandmother in spirit. Okay. How do you know that who's coming through is really who you want to be? Because could a dark energy come through, or is that David's job to prevent that? It is kind of David's job as a gatekeeper to prevent that.
Right.
But it's very rare that you get a dark energy come through. You know, like some of these programs that you get, and there's a lot going on like the media channels, Facebook and whatnot, that they're in a cemetery and there's
they're all hanging around.
No. Cemeteries, in my opinion, are very sacred places and blessed. So it's very rare if you get anything that's wandering around, let alone a dark energy. Sometimes in some buildings you can get, something that isn't so pleasant. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the films and stuff, like poltergeists, it's very, very rare. And I've been working in this way of life for many, many years, and I think only about 4 occasions I've actually had something really dark and sinister that I thought run. Very rare.
Does that scare you though? That must be quite fun.
When it first happened, It was very okay. The best way to say to anybody out there that is on this pathway and working with the spirit world, guard your fear. Try not to be fearful of anything. It's the living that hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the living that are negative, not those that are passed to spirit. More times than not. You can get the odd occasion where something is quite nasty, but you should be more powerful than them, really, even if you're not into this way of life, is my opinion.
And do you feel that, because obviously you have a gift, and so you can, I presume, you see and hear? Are you clairaudient, clairsentient?
I'm clairsentient, clairaudient.
Right.
I see... But more times than not, the energy is quicker when it passes through, sensing within your thoughts.
Right.
Okay. It takes a lot for a spirit energy to actually build up in physical form. Right. And when they do, it can be seconds, moments. You know, it's like so quite often if I'm driving down a country road, I see something by the side of the road, I look in my rear view mirror like, was that real or was that, you know? If I don't sit in the rear view mirror, I think like, that's a bit odd. That may have been something, but it's very. There's no hardened rules. You know that we don't know how or what I'm tapping into really until we're up there as well.
I mean, we get very scared about spirits or spirits around us, graveyards. But what you're saying is really, forget the movies. It's the living we need to worry about, not the dead. Yet all the movies want to tell us to be frightened of death, and yet death is a natural part of life. But it's because we don't know what's on the other side. So. I'm really putting this on you now, aren't I, Charlotte? What do you feel that we should expect when we pass?
I was only having this discussion with somebody yesterday, and the amount of people that have said if they've had a near-death experience. That they seem to recognise somebody that's come to meet them. Now, many moons ago, I used to work as an auxiliary nurse in a hospital. I'm going back a long, long time. And if somebody had a heart attack or was or had a near-death experience and they were brought back, I would always say to them, like, what was it like? What was, you know?
Did they give the same answer?
Same answer, a bright light,
right.
And somebody that they would know was standing there ready to walk them over a pathway, over a bridge, that same kind of scenario. Or various relatives that I've been around when they've been very, very ill and near to passing, they've started mentioning other relatives that have been passed over for quite some, talking about them. Like quite some years ago, my granddad was near passing, and he started saying, his sister was standing in the corner. Why the bloody hell was she standing? Because they had a fallout. Right. Why is she here? And I thought, oh, okay, that's, you know. But recently, just before Christmas, my dad passed away, and I nursed him because he wanted to come home and be with my mum at that time, and it was all very horrible.
And even with all, I've lost, my parents have gone a long time ago, but even though knowing what you know and how you comfort other people, when you find yourself in this situation,
and even knowing,
does it make any difference at all? No,
because I kind of had I did go into quite a low depression. I didn't seek any advice or help because I knew I'd come out of it at some point, but it was, can I say, quite a head fuck.
Yeah, it's awful.
Because I just was around my mum and my dad, and then he started mentioning about a dog that he had a few years ago, and then he was mentioning about his parents, and I thought, oh, this is close.
Yes, and it gave you no comfort, the fact that he was seeing his parents.
I knew, I had comfort from knowing that he was going to be somewhere where there wasn't any pain, but I also can I deal with this? You know, it's like I lost a partner 10 years ago. It was very out of the blue. He had septicemia, but people say to me, oh well, at least you can still see him. No, it doesn't work like that. It's still blinking hurts.
So how are people then, when you, like you just said there, that was a ridiculous thing to say, but were they like that, were people like that when you lost your father? Did they just presume that you'd be fine?
So far not. He only passed away on the 19th of December.
That's so early.
So far that hasn't been the case, but my mum has the onsets of dementia, so I go round there regular to sort her out and whatnot, and I just, where his bed was downstairs, I just say hello Dad, you know, and whatnot. But
do you ever sense him at all?
The house has been in the family for many years, and that's where I mentioned my great grandmother used to read the tea leaves. You know, in my mind's eye it turns back that I can still see her over this table with the tablecloth on, all the nice china. So that house has had various people that have passed over in it. It's like Spook Central, but in a nice way.
So do you feel close to your family when you were there?
Yes, yeah. Closer than I've been for a long time. Because families can be quite funny, can't they?
Oh, well, there's way too much for me to go into. In fact, Liam's looking there and he's thinking, please don't. No, don't go on. It's not about you, Yvette. That's what he's really thinking. Do you believe then in that you come back? Do you have that belief that?
I read a lady only yesterday, okay, and she is British, blonde, and she said, I really have the overwhelming urge to go and live in India. And I said, well, it's funny you should say that, because I really feel in a past life that's where you lived, that's where you had your family, and so yeah, I believe in past lives. I really do.
So therefore, would you believe, if we took that a step further, that we get to choose our parents? Would that come into it?
I feel yes.
Yeah?
I really feel it's like if you've got I really feel that once we're kind of, I don't know, energy upstairs or wherever we are in the waiting room to come down, I feel yes. I feel we choose who we're going to be with, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
And would that be just for appropriate lessons to learn, why you would choose certain people, as opposed to, can I have the rich one with all the big trappings and everything like that, please? Or, because you're not going to go, can I have the one where life's going to be really
so
tough?
Easy.
And yet somebody's choosing that. So
so many people fall on their feet, don't they? I feel we have a blueprint. I feel before we're born, it's all set out what's going to happen to us, and you know, a bit like one of those films, but I don't feel you can come off of that pathway or change that pathway. I feel it's already there.
Really? Do you really feel it's predestined?
I feel it's already predestined.
So what about free will then? Where would that come from?
Free will to change things, okay, to an extent, but it's like only over the past weekend. My daughter, her husband got news that his uncle passed away and his son passed away. Two completely separate areas in the world. One was in Turkey, the other one was in Medway, and they passed within 2 hours of each other. There were two separate things that were going on with them, and I think that's the perfect explanation of what you're asking. I don't feel that you can change anything. You may be able to delay it for a little bit,
right?
It's like when your time's up, your time's up.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, you know, when my father passed, I didn't know that he had died. And that night I went to bed, had a dream, and I woke up and I was literally, and in the dream it was very much like I've come to say goodbye, and I hadn't seen my father for a long time, and I said, well, I don't know why you've come to say goodbye to me. And he said, well, no, you don't understand, Yvette, I have to go now. And I woke up with tears streaming down my face.
Yeah, that definitely
and
is.
I had to splash my face.
Absolutely, that happened.
What I didn't realise was the next day he was being cremated. So it was, and I didn't find out that my father had passed till a week later, a week after that. But so obviously, I do believe that there is an energy. We are energy, and energy can't die. Energy
No.
has to go somewhere into some form. And so I think wherever my parents are now, you know, they have moved on, but they're not in the physical. I know when I saw my mum when she passed, I looked at her, but I knew she wasn't there. As sad as it was, I could feel that she'd gone.
Yeah.
She absolutely was not in there. There is a lady in Ireland, and now name escapes me, but she's called the Angel Lady, and she believes that everybody is born with their own guardian angel. And she says that when she looks in a crowd of people, everybody is with a... There's two of us here, there'll be four of us. That everybody is standing and there's an angel at the side. Do you believe that?
I feel that everybody has their guide. I do feel that you kind of get allocated at birth a guide. I'm not quite sure if I want to call angels, because that takes me off into another subject, you know, because I'm kind of like, angels. I'm kind of into, this is going to sound like I'm a complete fruit now, but I'm kind of into aliens and that energy as well, and the parallel worlds and everything else. But yeah, no, if you want to call them angels, that's lovely. That makes people feel good.
Yeah.